Shalom, first and foremost, want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kodash, double honors and elders GMS Ruel. Peace, citation, like I keep before quarters, pushing the truth and sincerity. Peace be unto you, Shalom. This lesson is about how Israel deserves the captivity and the punishment that we're going through. Because this is a light affliction, very light affliction. It could have been worse. You know, we could have been, because we almost out of this captivity. We could have been just, you know, ending one captivity, got to go to another captivity, and had to go to another fallen way. Man, this is a very light affliction. You know, you have you know, internet, you can eat, you can, somewhat provide a little bit of life for yourself. This is a very, very light captivity. You know, when you consider the things that we did, very light. Uh this is let me go because scripture talks about if we were to break the curses. I mean, if we were to not break the curses, but if we were to not keep the covenant, what will happen to us? Deuteronomy 28 at verse Deuteronomy 28, and you can start at verse 1. It says, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently to the voice of Yahweh thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that Yahweh thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth." So that's part of the the choices that we were given. Uh Verse 2, it says, "And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God." But now, if you read, we didn't keep the our end, but this is why you go to verse 15, and it gives you a better idea of what's going on with Israel. It says, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." So that's the other side. All the curses is going to come and overtake us. And if you know anything, that's exactly what happened. The curses, they came because what happened? We broke them. It was already prophesied. It said that we were going to break them, and sure enough, we did. So we have to. Matter of fact, let me go. This is Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse uh 30 and verse 1. Yep. Deuteronomy 30 and verse 1. "And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither Yahweh thy power have driven thee." So you're gonna, remember them. Why? Because Most High is going to put these things to your remembrance. Your prophet is going to prophesy, and your old men shall have dreams. And we're waking back to find out who we are and what's our place in this society. All the while, we're told that we're this, that, the other. But we deserve this. Man, you gotta have that attitude. Is that man? I don't, you know, I don't deserve shit. Really, when you understand everything that we went through, and we did. This is a real quick. Let's see Ezekiel chapter 8 and verse 12. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the chambers of his imaginary? For they say, Yahweh seeth us not. Yahweh hath forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. If Israel's hard headed, is stiff necked, very, very hard headed and stiff necked. Israel has a short term, they Israel forget the good things that happen, and he'll remember the bad things. That's the how Israel mind functions. You know, so when you think about everything that we've, you know, did, ate our children in the siege, that was part of the curses. We deserve all this. We 100% deserve all of this smoke. Nobody can sit up here and say, "Oh, well, no." When they say, "Where was God at when the slave ships was happening?" He was looking down, smiling and laughing. Y'all don't want to follow me? All right, y'all gonna follow something. And sure enough, it's exactly what we did. We followed after the heathens, and now we have to worship their gods, wood and stone. Let me keep reading. And verse 14, it says, Then he brought me to the door of the gate of of Yahweh's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Now, Tammuz is what? It's a deity, an idol. And sure enough, women were weeping over it. 100% Jake deserves all of the abominations that we're going through. Verse 15. This said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the Yahweh's house. Behold, at the door of the temple of Yahweh's, between the porch and the altar, there were about five. Where slack? I just lost my place. Uh, there were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple of Yahweh and their faces toward the east, and they worshiped the sun toward the east. This said, Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? Because this is, you learn to not feel bad for Jake because you understand that Jake chose this at the end of the day. So why feel bad for Jake when they ultimately they chose all this? It's like if a person chooses to date a crackhead and they end up, effed up. I mean, like you, like yo, that's your choice, and this is what it's been. It's been a choice in Israel. continuously choosing, making bad choices, bad decisions. So ultimately, this is your choice. Israel made a bad choice, and they got to suffer the major bad. They got to lie with it. So don't feel bad for Jake. Jake going to be stubborn. And on that note, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakudash. Double honors to the elders of GMS as well. Peace, salutations, and